Hyperkin originally started as an idea. Instead of beginning as a game, it started as a character that would be the mascot for what Heavenly Den was named at the time, Ryuken Studios, No Name Studio. This mascot would end up being Ryuken Kosen, who would then lead the way for the rest of the characters in what would soon become Hyperkin. However, before development on Hyperkin began, I had been developing the first project I had planned to make under the Ryuken Studios, No Name Studio name, Lego Island, Bricktastic Trilogy, Rebuilt. This project would have been a remaster of the 3 Lego Island games, Lego Island 1, Lego Island 2, The Brickster's Revenge, and Island Extreme Stunts. The Bricktastic Trilogy team and I had made some shockingly good progress on the project, with me getting significant progress on the Lego minifigure model template, and one of the members getting a few songs from the first game's soundtrack remastered. Soon after this, though, the project was shelved behind closed doors and was never acknowledged publicly again. The project was cancelled due to lack of motivation and lack of a substantial amount of crew members. There were only 2 of us actively working on the game. Around this time, I had wanted to create a party game, which was referred to as Untitled Party Game, but this went nowhere as well. This was about the time when Ryuken was first conceptualized, created to be the mascot of the studio. Her head shape would then be the template for another character, who, funnily enough, would be the main character of my next project, Lily. In March of 2021, I had began to share concepts of characters around. These characters included Lily, Ryuken, Frad, and Brad, 4 characters who I had created to be a part of a potential franchise, which was titled Hyperkin. This franchise included a game, which focused on Lily making it to an unknown country and trying to find out the mysteries of it, and a TV series following after the game, focusing on the characters as adults living their lives in said unknown country, where crazy events would occur. Soon enough, I had decided to redesign the main 2 characters, Lily and Ryuken, as they looked too similar, making them into the new Lily and Chungai Atsuko Daoming. During this time, I had begun to come up with the concept for the game and constantly created new characters while constantly creating new art for the project, such as the original box art for the game. The most important characters created during this time were Chad, Shannon, Jerry, and Rodel. Chad, Shannon, and Jerry were created as a collaborative effort with an ex-Discord friend. The concept of the game managed to stay the same over the course of 2021. Eventually, I had begun to start the storyboard without creating a script before and created concepts for feature sequels in my talented art class at school. 2021 was a rather uneventful year, as it was the beginning of the project, and I hadn't made much progress on it. 2022 was a much more eventful year for both the studio and the game. During the start of the year, I had let one of my real-life acquaintances know I was making a game. This acquaintance then told my best friend that I was working on the game, causing them both to join the team. The acquaintance ended up being a musician and eventually the voice actor for Frad. The best friend ended up being an artist and eventually the voice actor for Brad. Also, at the tail end of 2021, the studio was renamed to Ryuken Multimedia and had a subsidiary named No Name Studio. Around the start of 2022, I had begun to write the script. Also in early 2022, I had begun to create different social medias for the studio. In about June of 2022, I had begun to hire voice actors. Along with this, the acquaintance had invited 2 friends of his to help assist with the game. Around this time, I had decided to create Hyperkin into a cross-dimensional game, with 2 campaigns taking places in 2 universes, although the second campaign had parallels to the first one. 2022 was the year of growth for the game and the studio, and I couldn't have been happier at the time. However, in this same year, I had begun to think over my decision to make the game. As I began to do casting calls and hire more staff members in 2022, I had begun to realize just how flawed my leadership skills were. I responded late at times, due to being afraid to see the response, and I had waited until the last minute to last to the auditions due to being afraid to hear the lines being said by someone. I didn't want to hear it due to the fear that my writing may have sounded cringy or bad when being voiced over. Waiting until the last minute wasn't just limited to the casting calls, however. I also procrastinated in updating the team or certain staff members on certain things, such as if I needed them to double up on roles, if their role was reduced, or if I needed something to be made. I also didn't speak my mind like I should have. I wasn't assertive, I went with the flow, even if I didn't necessarily agree with something that the active members of the team had came up with. I also wasn't very mature. At times I would respond with anger whenever a disagreement arose instead of responding maturely. The team wasn't without fault, however. Many times, some members would act immature. However, this was few and far between, although it would occur over the course of the last 6 months of the year following June. The team was very mature though, even during some of the disagreements would have. Despite this, the disagreements the active team had would become worse due to my immaturity and unwillingness to assert myself or handle the situations maturely. As 2022 ended, the game began to make more progress. The script got finished, music and art was being created, models were being made, the social medias had begun to grow, and the cast had been finalized, despite one cast member leaving. 3 more voice actors had joined in around this time, one replacing the previous VI's roles, and one would join in very early 2023, although this went nowhere. Anyway, development was going swimmingly, and it seemed like it would be completed. However, 2023 would prove to be much more different than I expected. Although development was going well, I had begun to reconsider if I should continue developing Hyperkin during the start of 2023. During the start of the year, I had felt more confident in the release of the game than ever. I had begun to talk about it more and more on Twitter and Discord, even getting around to hiring potential playtesters on both social medias. I had officially decided the art style for the game and I had gotten voice lines for 2 characters from 2 voice actors. A lot was getting made and things were seemingly going well. Until around the end of my sophomore year. At the end of my sophomore year, I had realized that the game had taken too much influence in my life, as I had been focusing on it practically daily since the previous year. I had felt like it was a weight on my back that I had to eventually let go of. Along with this, sometime during mid to late June, I had gotten close to God and had gotten saved. I had felt like game development wasn't my purpose and like I was made for something more. Game development just felt like less and less of a passion over time for me. The team, my lack of passion, me being saved, and just the overall changes in my life up to that point led to me officially deciding to quietly disband the team and stop development on the game, along with me abandoning many of my socials aside from Instagram. Over the course of the year, I would invite some staff members back into the studio's Discord server, but I had soon kicked them out again, as I stopped using Discord entirely after a while. I had made some pieces of art for the game every now and then, but nothing ever came out of it. Until around September, around that time, I had been making more and more pieces of art, and had been deciding to revamp Hyperkin under a new name, Blessed Realities, and had been planning on revamping Ryuken Multimedia into Heavenly Den. These changes were successful, and the studio was up and running again. But the game's fate still hung in limbo until around December of that 2023. Around that time, I was trying to develop a 3rd anniversary game for Heavenly Den. I had fun starting it out, but eventually, as I continued developing it, I had begun to hate even the idea of continuing it. In January of this year, I had realized that I disliked game development and that I was going to leave it behind for good. I had cancelled all my game projects around the start of January 2024, including a very personal project that I wanted to seek out, but lost motivation for. And that just leaves us with now, the present. Currently, I have no plans to revamp Blessed Realities. Ideas have come up here and there, but if I do revamp it, it won't be a video game. If I were to make it a video game, it would be similar to Scott Cawthon's Five Nights at Freddy's games, and will be made in Click Team as well. As for the Heavenly Den, I have no plans to use the studio following this video, however, that could change. Once this video is uploaded, all socials for Heavenly Den will be made private and won't be used anymore. As I stated earlier, if I do return to game development, I will only make simple games similar to the original Five Nights at Freddy's games in Click Team, but truthfully, I don't ever see that happening. I'm content with the path that I'm trying to get my life on now, including getting close with God again, and I'm focusing on my future life, not trying to get famous now and risking my mental health because of it. I'll miss this era of my life, but I'm happy to finally move on from it. I hope those I formed friendships with during this time have a blessed life, and I wish the same for those I may not speak to at all anymore. I'll miss aspects of this era, but I am truly happy to finally be moving on from it. I have nothing else to say about this other than I'm happy to finally have closure on this era of my life so I can finally move on from it and pull the plug on it, essentially. This has been my goodbye note to Blessed Realities and Heavenly Den as a whole. Before I go, however, I have one last piece I want you all to enjoy. I have officially decided to cancel Blessed Realities, as I've lost motivation for working on it and I'd rather focus on living my life instead of being tied down by this game and building up my relationship with God, as I've been struggling with that recently. Along with this, I lost passion for the project as time went on. It went from I really want to work on this okay, I want to get this over with, I'm tired of working on it. Development on the game became less and less fun for me, and more of just a daily routine. I didn't like the monotony of it. I also found myself becoming very miserable over time. The team didn't share the same visions as me at times, and sometimes we would have disagreements. I don't see myself as being a fit leader for developing a video game or just being fit as a leader for anything right now. While I don't pin the blame on just one person, I believe it was a problem from both sides, the team helping with the game and myself. We were both in the wrong at times, and I didn't want to continue putting any of us through it, so I eventually disbanded the team and rebranded to Heavenly Den. However, even after this, the spark to develop the game just never returned. The story is something I'd like to return to one day, but maybe not as a video game. Development on the game just went so slowly for me, and that's because eventually the game wasn't a priority anymore. I found something better in June, and I want to return to that better thing. I pray the best for the original team and I hope they have a blessed rest of 2023 and a blessed 2024. I hope none of them hold anything against me, and if they do, then I apologize, I truly do. I'm sorry for everything I did wrong, I wish I could have improved in the moment. Thank you all for watching. I can finally wrap this part of my life up and have closure on it. So now, I can finally say, goodbye Blessed Realities and goodbye Heavenly Den. Thank you for everything.